Hello people, welcome to Women Rise. This is Civic Space TV. I'm called Madrin and already 21st of December, yes, towards Christmas. I know many of you have moved, traveled to villages. This is a time to spend with family and I hope you really do enjoy this festive season, wherever you're going to enjoy it from. Yes, welcome to this episode and today I have Victoria Ashabahewa. I'll not pronounce the other name because I might make mistakes. Yes, Victoria is the MD at Ihura Limited. She is a director at Swazi Highland Tea Company Limited and currently the chairperson, Board of Directors, Uganda Tea Association. This is the umbrella body for tea processors, farmers, traders, and other associate members. Yes, we are really so happy to have you, Victoria, with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, how are you? How is the season so far?
Well, we are alive. That's good enough. We are healthy. That's good enough.
Yes.
In general, I think I'm quite okay. But as far as the industry that I represent is concerned, we are not okay at all. So I'm on both sides, a bit of both.
Yeah,
yes.
true. Okay, so to our viewers who do not know who Victoria is, how do you describe yourself?
Tough one. I know it's easy to describe yourself in many ways.
Yes.
But it would be good to know what others think of you. Yes. Victoria Ashabahewa is my name. The other name is Bakehahwenchi, the one that she could not mention.
Yeah.
Yes, I am Ugandan. I'm a Muchiga, Mutoro. I'm from Mushenyi district, Chamhunga. I'm a firstborn of 10 siblings. I have 2 children.
Okay.
A daughter and a son, and I'm married to one man. I know things are changing these days, but I'm married to only one man. Yes, and I'm very passionate about everything that I do, and the latest of my passions has been the work that I do in the tea industry. But above all, I would like to think of myself as a people person, but that's not for me to say. It is for the people to say that she is a people person. I think you'll know more about me as we go along.
True.
That's basically who I am as Vicky.
As Vicky.
Yes.
Oh, is that what they call you,
That's
Vicky?
what they call me. That's what most people call me. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Victoria. So before we get to know more of what you're doing, we want to know about the little Victoria, the firstborn of 10 siblings, growing up, leadership roles. You got it at an early age. Being the firstborn, meaning you had to a lot to be responsible for all your 10 siblings. Yes. How was your childhood like?
I lived in Bugolobi for a few years. We lived in Bugolobi for a few years with my parents and my little siblings. I went to Mbuya Nursery School. It was a Catholic nursery school, and our teachers were nuns. It's just in Mbuya. If you know the Mbuya Catholic Church, the nursery school, that's where I went to study. I was in Nakasero for a year, and then we moved to Nabingo, where my parents currently live. I went to St. Mary's boarding primary school for a couple of years, and from P5 to P7 I was in Budo Junior School, so perhaps I'm also a Budonian. But yes, I was in Budo Junior, and from Budo Junior I went to Nabisunsa Girls School for my O-level, and for A-level I was in Gombe Secondary School. And university, I went to Makerere University Business School, MUBS. I was there for my bachelor's. I did BCom, and I majored in finance. and I did my MBA 4 years later at Cyprus Institute of Marketing, and I majored in financial management and investment. So that is my education. Yes. So little me was a big woman at an age that even I didn't choose. I had to answer for a lot of things that I didn't know about. We grew up in a very busy household. Back in the day, extended family lived a lot with you know. But
Other
lately,
relatives,
people are living alone. You don't have relatives from the village. Would have relatives show up without notice, and they stay with you for like 2 weeks, 2 months. So I grew up with older siblings, cousins. I grew up with uncles, a lot of uncles, and then of course my parents. So it was a very big and busy home. But being the first of the core family, I had a lot more responsibility as far as the way I behaved, especially before my siblings, because my mother, I remember, would say, what you do, even your siblings shall do.
Will do.
So I remember vividly that there are certain things that I could not partake of because either they're not enough, but I had to make sure that the kids, I think, in a way, she was probably teaching me that when I finally have my own children and there's only a loaf of bread to eat and it's not enough for all of us, it is only enough for the little ones. So there are many times, of course, growing up I was very mad that I never got to eat the extra chocolates, the extra sweets.
Because the little ones had to eat
so
first.
if she came home with like 1 bar of chocolates, and it wasn't enough because we had so many other children that we grew up with, I had to be the one to serve it and not take some of it. So I grew up knowing that others must get before I do. So I think it was also easy in my transition to motherhood and being a homemaker or a wife. Yes.
Wow.
I could think of so many things. A lot of I was very cheeky. I know for a certain point in my life I was quite wild. But it was, I think, the rebellion and the need to feel taken care of, because I was taking care of others. So much to the extent that when I went to university, I even got my own house. I started my life alone quite early. Like after uni, I lived an independent life from everyone else. So I think it was a way of, I'm tired of taking care of people, and I didn't see it. I needed my space. For a long time, I didn't see it as a blessing. It felt like a burden. But I think there are some things that come to us naturally.
True.
We do not appreciate them. We don't want them. But that's what we have. And that's what God has given us. So there are those responsibilities that I had to take on from early stages of my life that I didn't think were relevant. But when I look back now, they have made me who I am.
Yeah, true. They groomed
really
you
have.
Yes.
They truly have.
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay, beautiful. And so, Vicky, what do you do?
What do I do?
Yes.
Ask me, Anange. My work has not been straight. Like I would say, work in an organization and then I have done so many things. I have truly done so many things. The only thing I haven't done is become a pastor. But I've dabbled in a lot of sectors in my life. I did my internship at Civil Aviation Authority, and then I later did. I had a small contract. There was a research going on as part of the finance department at the time. We were doing research on a lot of. I think they were trying to work out the costs of the different bills that were giving to either the airlines and the other people and all the other service providers, and trying to see if they align and if they are being efficient. I then later I worked with a company called Mohekamu Enterprises, which was a construction firm. I was an office admin, but I used to you know, it was a small business, so you do a lot of work outside your roles. So I worked a lot with the engineers as they're working on the BOQs, and so it gave me a lot of experience and perspective of how things are done in different businesses. I it was then that I first paused from the mainstream work, and I started a business selling second-hand clothes.
Okay.
With a friend. But my I didn't have a shop at the time. I didn't feel the need to have one. It was easy. I didn't have to spend money on rent. The internet wasn't as vibrant as now that people would get to you. This was 2012. I mean, it was, but either I didn't have the skill at the time to make use of it, or it wasn't as vibrant
like
as
today.
now,
Yes,
that there is online shops and such. So I did a lot more hawking, and the clothes were so cheap. Buy a top at 500 shillings, sell it 5,000. It was an abnormal profit. So I remember when I left my job, my salary, I remember paying my rent for the month, and the remaining money I was left with 50K. I went to the Bible, there's that Bible shop opposite Christ the King. I forget what it's called. They sell Bibles and other books. I bought a Bible, which is the only Bible I have up to now. And it was about, I think it was 20,000. I was left with 30,000. I called my friend. I have a very good friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine called Deborah Karungi. She went on with the business longer than I did. And I called her, I told her, Karungi, she's a Mutor. I've left my job. I want to start doing the business you're doing. Because it was
she was
fun.
already in the business.
She was already in the business. Actually, she started doing the business when we were in school, when we were still at uni.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have issues at your job? Why did you leave your job?
I truly did.
Okay.
It was, no, I did, but they were good people, honestly. And I don't know if it was lack of mentorship or coaching, but I had more interest in doing business than sitting in an office and typing letters, making tea for my boss, printing things. Of course, at the time, I also didn't understand what actual business meant. You know, I just thought,
you
if
see
I
people
could just
doing
buy,
it,
I sell, and it was so easy. There were campuses. We had left university already, but we used to sell the clothes to campuses. Somehow they always have money to spend on small things like a blouse. And so if I'm spending 20, if it costs me, if the clothes cost me 20,000 shillings, and then I sell them 100,000, I've made 80,000.
Yeah.
And I remember the time I didn't have even a bank account, so I used to keep the money in my pillow. Imagine. And because we were younger also, I don't know. When I look back, I think that if I had a certain kind of guidance, which I'm sure I didn't lack, I just simply I didn't confide in the people who had to know about the things I was doing. I was doing these things undercover because for a long time I had eyes on me. If you do like this, your siblings are watching. If you say this, your siblings are watching. If you do this, so this time I was on my own. I said I'm going to do whatever I want. I got into the business. It was a rough one. It wasn't very prestigious, first of all, because I was hawking. I went to university.
Not easy, yes.
And so I remember there's a girl, she was called Vicky, which was my namesake. I remember going to her to sell my clothes. For me, it was about making the money. It wasn't about looking good before you, that I am this, I'm so-and-so's child. No, it was about making a profit. So I remember selling to her clothes, and she asked me, how come you speak English? I said, what do you what do you mean? She's like, how come you speak English?
And you're doing this.
Yes, I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you went to school? I'm like, I did. She's like, okay.
Oh.
It's like, and I think at the time, I hadn't done my master's yet. I only had the bachelor's. Like, and I was at MOOBS. Like, what? And you did BCom. What?
And you're
Like,
doing
and those were like hard courses, math, and everyone sort of, at least in MOOBS. So those are one of the things that started making me rethink my strategy in life. Like, is it about the money? Some people are all about optics. If they see you a certain way, they perceive you that way, even though they don't really know the underlying issues. So I did it because it was fun. I truly had a good time. I was making very easy money. They were willing to buy the things so cheaply, not knowing I was getting it much, 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 much cheaper. Me and my friend, however, had, of course, a couple of issues in that business. I remember one time in Mukono, we used to sell these clothes at night. Yeah, we used to sell the clothes at night. So I remember one time in Mukono, because getting into hostels as a hawker, as you would know, is illegal. So we're doing illegal business. Where else are you going to find the students if not in their rooms and such? So I remember my friend, because she had been in that struggle longer than me, she knew her way around the system. I didn't. I was green. Me, I went in knowing, we can do this, mama. One day, I can't say arrested. I was arrested, but I was detained by the security. And I remember the one thing that I never cry when I'm in trouble. Like, I've been in so much trouble before that, but I don't.
You don't?
Because usually I'm usually innocent in these cases. So you find that either you're shocked or you're just smiling, and it irritates whoever has caught you, who's claiming to have caught you. But that day, I sobbed. I literally sobbed. Because I remembered that back at home, I'm supposed to be this, and this.
Everyone is
now
looking
I
up
left
to
my
you.
job. I haven't even told my parents that I've left, that I'm now doing
You're
business. Yes. And
Oh.
again, I'm being arrested. And back
So
in the
who
day,
are you going to call?
who are you
for
going to
rescue?
call?
Yes.
So they were threatening, let's go, the police station is near there, let us call, let us bring there. I was just crying. And because I could not speak, they were irritated. They just let me go. They said, muleka agende. Bano abayingira hostels abana bebakola, So they just let me go, and I went. Meanwhile, my friend, of course, because she was good in the system, she had already reached her house. She disappeared. She left me in trouble. So I later spoke to her the next day, and she told me, Vicky, you disappeared. What am I told her? My sister. Do you know what happened to me? So I narrated that because of the kind of relationship we have, all we did was laugh. The tears ended there in the shame. No one, maybe now people are going to know what happened. And then after the clothes, I was dabbling now. I started to look for work. I worked with a company called Ensibuko. It is now a very big company. At the time, it was a startup, and there was nothing nicer than feeling like you're part of something that is new. That time shall come, like 20 years past, and they'll say, we started this thing together. I mean, I was just an employee. My bosses were almost my age, but I liked it. I truly loved it. From, going to a business that is just buying furniture and you're part of it. It's just setting up an office and you're part of it. I felt like I needed something like that. So I worked with them for a short while, but like all startups, there were some issues and we had to stop for a while, but they're doing so well right now. It was they developed mobile banking system for circles and village cooperatives and such that use the USSD code to the star hash code. So they also had other products in line with solar, so renewable energy, either for lighting at home. At the time, this is like 2014, 15, that was that was the thing in the village. People didn't have electricity, so
true.
solar was a better option to get them away from the more either expensive
darkness.
or dangerous, like kerosene and tadoba situation. Then I worked for, I was a PA for one of the directors in Bank of Uganda when I left. He had, whose name I will not disclose, he had a company, a financial literacy company of sorts. And so I was his PA out of office. So it was such a fun job, you know. I'd meet him when he's done swimming. After his swim in the morning, we have coffee, we have our morning meeting. This is like 6:30 a.m. and he's going to the bank to work, and then I'm going to work on the other issues. So then I would also have to align his schedule with the bank, with the other schedules outside the bank. That did not last long also, unfortunately. Like many people who are starting businesses, you think it will go so far. I believe the business committed to so many costs, including my own salary, that they could no longer manage.
Could no longer
I
manage.
remember I was even fired with a Christmas letter.
Oh.
They gave me a Christmas card, Merry Christmas, and inside there was my letter with my salary.
Oh.
It was heartbreaking. I
I
was going back on the job
know.
scene again.
Yes.
And but there was a lot to learn in all those things, and I'm glad all those things happened. We've become very good friends. It was quite interesting because towards the end, when I realized that it may not work, this friend of mine offered to pay me with a fridge because he knew I didn't have a fridge in my house. Said, I don't have money to pay you salary, but why don't I give you furniture? So of course I refused. I wanted my cash because I was already going to buy the fridge with some other money. So still around the same time. And but all the while, growing up, we were tea farmers. So our school fees
back home,
in Bushenyi, yes, we were tea farmers in Bushenyi district, Chamuhunga. My village is Swazi. There's a small village called Swazi. Yes, where my grandparents and my other relatives are right now, and my parents now for retirement. So most of our school fees, my dad was a civil servant. He traveled a lot, so didn't see him much. I spent most of my time with my mother. But so most of the money for the fees and all the other things and all the other investments that he also doubled in came from the tea plantation.
The tea growing.
Yes, the tea growing. So every now and then, especially Christmas season is usually for the village. So if you're not hustling in town, you're in the village. So at the time, I took more interest in what was back home. I thought to myself, I have acquired all this skill, and by then I had done my master's. Why don't I go back home and do something? So he was also closing into retirement, and he wanted to settle with an investment that would sustain him through retirement, and then also just to focus on the thing that he loved the most. Chamuhunga is a place of majani, of tea. So if you're not doing tea in that place, then what are you doing? There is also matoke. Bushenyi is also known for matoke. But almost everyone in Bushenyi has a garden of tea. So you're going to drive through, especially the Chamunga Town Council, and the fields of tea on either side of the highway. Oh my God, it's magical. The air in that place is just, it's a beauty. So I started now consulting. My dad became my mentor at that point, after rebelling for so long, trying to be creative and
trying to get your own space.
My own space, but I was on a struggle because I wasn't consulting anyone. I was just going with the wind. I also had a jewelry business. And I think I was very good at it, but I honestly would get bored with certain things. There was I was very, very good at it. If you could see some of the work I did, that's the work they're doing now for brides. So I used to do the same thing for brides and my friends and such, but it also didn't go as far as I had hoped. But my kids right now, that's what they do in holiday.
They love it.
Very young, yeah, holidays.
Wow.
I still have all my equipment and all the beads that I never used. So it was something that was passed down. My grandmother, my mom's mom, used to make beads. Even these ones that they put on the, you know, those traditional milk, whatever's for, like the ones they give out on introduction, the bianzi, they bead them.
Yes.
So she would do such things. She would bead on the walking sticks, also for like as a gift to like a groom or the father of the groom. They would bead stools. Like she was really, really good at it. And my mother also taught me, and then she even took me to where they were buying these things. So the interest caught on. And every now and then when I'm with my kids for like
you're also
extra
teaching the kids
curricular activities in the house, those are some of the things we do.
Wow.
I don't know if they'll ever take it
Generations.
seriously, but it's something I don't want them to forget.
Yeah,
it.
true. Wow. That's something they can even do, you know.
Yeah, because at work they're very young, but having those colorful beads, and because my son is left-handed, and one of the tricks that the teacher told us to help him grip the pencil properly was to get him to do work with small items, like either putting a string through beads and others to help him be firm in his hands. His hands were very weak because he would write with both hands, you know. But he's getting better, and I think that has also contributed a lot. Yes. Tea. Before I started tea, I had forgotten my other business. So the family business was one of my first clients. Imagine, I had a business, yet I wanted to work with them. So I wanted them, it was real gamba no situation. So I registered a company called Avacop Limited. It was my first company. We deal in stationery supplies and printing services, branding and the likes. We did quite okay for a while, but the first time when I had just registered was also when he was registering Swaz. So the logo, that was me. Any kind of branding that they have now, I did it.
Wow.
Then they were a big client. Of course, I overpriced, and he did complain because he knew I needed capital to either register the company and such. So I did, and the way I used to work, again, I avoided paying rent, but I knew that I didn't know how to design, designing logos and such, but I knew there are those who knew. So I created a team of guys, and my contribution to the office was a trading license, since I was the only registered one. The rest were not registered. You just come, you do your job. Njagala logo, design for you, give them money. And at that time, I remember paying for a logo over 50K. But now, you can't, 50,000 shillings for a logo, you can't find it. Then I billed my dad, I think, 200,000. Exorbitant. Yeah, so I started working with them, and the first team that I worked with was quite okay. But I was so afraid of men. Not in the sense of relating, but in working with them. They are very aggressive, and they are very determined compared to what I was. I mean, I thought I was, but I needed to suffer a bit to shake.
You had a team of only men?
Only men. I was the only lady. But I didn't spend a lot of time with them. It was only when I had work. So because I was contributing to the office, the deal was I contribute to your rent, I put my name on your office. So if you are if KCCA is coming to lock up guys who haven't paid trading license, you guys are in the clear. You say you work for me. Then you do my work. My work is priority. If I come with business and I have work to do, everything else aside, you do mine first, and at subsidized rate. So I was their backup plan for any financial issues. So I had to leave them because I came across a challenge that it shook me. I've never been so afraid in the middle of a crowd like I was with them. I remember one of the guys I was working with, I never used to give him a lot of work. I was working particularly with one, and then he had his guys, they're small, he would pass work and such. So I remember I gave him a job. It was my cousin's wedding, and he wanted an order of service for the wedding. Very easy money to make. Just normal paper, you print, you fold. It was not difficult. So one of the guys that I never worked a lot with told me, but me, you never give me work. You never give me work. I said, okay, fine. Today I shall give you work. I tell him it was very easy, no designing, just print. I told him which font to use. It was so easy. I bought the paper myself, the one that was going to make the order of service. And so normally I would do that. Then I also had the other printing shops that do just that. So you design your work and then you take it there and they print it. But he had like a small printer in the office. He told me, why don't you use mine? Don't take the work out.
I'll do it.
You let me finish the whole job.
Yeah.
I said, fine. What's wrong with that? Will it work? Yes, it works. It's old, but it works. I gave him the job. I paid up front. The time came for me to deliver the work. It was a Wednesday. We had a wedding meeting on Wednesday, order of service. The wedding was on Saturday.
2
so
days.
The last wedding meeting, I'm going to give them the order of service, wedding meetings, and my mom was there. My mom can put you on pressure. Where are you? Where is the order of service? You're supposed to be. I'm coming. Not knowing what I had just been through. So this gentleman, I go to the office, thankfully, in the morning, ask him for the work. And he's there just chilling in the office. And he says to me, what? I'm like, my work, when I give you, it is time to deliver. The meeting is in the afternoon, but I need to show it to someone first, who was my mother. Then the guy just went off on me. No one has ever shouted at me that loudly. And you know a man's voice. And he shouted so loud. He threatened to beat me. He threatened to tear my work apart. I think, he kept saying, you think all of work. I'm like, this is the guy who was begging me for a job.
Yeah.
What?
And you paid.
I have paid up front. What? I looked at the man. I was so afraid inside. Because the truth is, I thought he was actually going to beat me. But what was worse, like the worst part of the situation was that all the men in the room did not move a muscle. They didn't even look in my direction. They didn't even respond. They didn't even try to make the man say, you need to calm down. She paid you for the work. They didn't say a thing. They didn't move. The man just walked out, threw the things there. Thankfully, I knew how to use his fake printer. I put in the papers. I printed my work. I stapled calmly. I made sure I swallowed, you know. Back in the day when your parents would pinch you like in public and you're about to cry and they say, Mira, swallow it. Don't even make a sound.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I swallowed my pain. I said, there's no way I'm going to cry. I'm going to just be. There's no way. I've been giving you guys money. And then I start crying. I refused. I did my work. I delivered. And I left. I never talked to them again. A month later, one of the guys called me, the one who I used to work with closely, calls me and says, Madam Vicky, how are you? I'm like, I'm fine. Hey, we wanted to talk to you. We have some challenges. I wanted to speak to you about them. And then he says, you come and we meet. I'm like, I can't meet you, but we can talk on phone. He's like, now, this guy, remember this guy called Mario, who used to we used to, for the last 3 months, he's the one who has been taking the rent to the landlord. We had an office at Jenna Plaza, but at the back. Jenna is on Nkrumah and Nasa. And he's like, we used to give him the rent money for like 3 months, and it turns out the guy has not been
never delivering
the money. So they are locking the office, and we were hoping that you can have a contribution. I did not even hesitate. I told him, bro, do you remember when that same guy who almost beat me before you,
and you didn't even do
you did
anything.
not even move a muscle? And his response, it disappointed me in life, but it is the truth. He told me that naye nawe madam oli musajja munnaffe oli musajja munnaffe. Yes, oli musajja munnaffe. There is no way.
What?
There's no way we could whatever. So you just forgive us, and you give us some money to, you know, to settle the rent, and then we move on. I told him, you need to delete my number, my brother. Just leave me.
The courage he had.
He
even
called
to say
even
that.
friends of mine who knew me. I had a friend. He called him to intervene. I explained to him. He told me delete his number. Even don't tell me about this.
So I'm thinking that guy would have even beaten you, and they would have stayed
If they were, yes,
because he's a fellow
maybe
man.
if they had seen blood, perhaps that's what they're waiting to see, bleeding, or like an ambulance show up, like, hey, munange naffe tulabye balwana nga tetutegeera what's happening. But they acted clueless, they acted blind, they acted deaf. But the reason that the one who I knew closely gave me was that he was a fellow man. So it sort of set me back a bit emotionally, I think. I became more afraid of working in the spaces of men. It's easy to think that if you're a girl, maybe you can get your way around with the guys, but when it comes to making money, they're not fair. They forget that you are that. They want to fight. You don't have the strength. I don't have the strength to fight. Even a little boy. Those guys are very strong. So I later met a friend called Asaba, who I told the story, and told me, but I have my friends who are printing and are designers, and they're doing really well, and they're very good. I'll make an introduction. So he did, and these guys have become like family to me now, because we worked together for so many years. When I was getting married, they were there. When they're getting married, I'm there. When they're having kids, when I have kids. So I got a new family at Nkrumah, Nasa. They have grown to be bigger than they were then. They now have their own machines, and they're doing quite well. So that was my experience with the printing world, with the Nasa Road business. And the company still exists. We still do some little work every now and then. And so because I was doing work for Swazi, I had like 2 jobs. I had my own business, and my side hustle, which was Avacop, and then now I had my job at Swazi. So we started a mentorship program with my father. He, before I go there, I had another business. Yes. I had a mushroom farm.
Done.
My God. I had a farm with a friend of mine. We had a mushroom farm in Namugongo. In Namugongo. But that farm, for it, I remember I was dabbling. I had like 3 things. I had the mushroom farm. I had a farm in Anaka with another group of friends. And then I was working for my father. And then also
the printing.
And then I also had printing. But there were different teams, so I didn't have to do all the work myself. Of course, in a way, the work suffers, you know, because you can't
You're
split.
not there, yes, full time.
Yeah, so and even the motivation towards your partners, it feels like you're not giving in enough
time.
So, especially if you're not the back, if you're not the one giving money. If you're like all on an equal footing and you're not the sponsor,
yes,
if you're not present, then you're not
Yeah,
working.
yeah, true.
So I had a mushroom farm. Tuskys at the time was a big supermarket here, and we were
Delivering.
supplying to Tuskys. We supplied to Mega, not
Wow.
Mega Standard. We supplied to restaurants. We were making we were growing the white oyster mushrooms. And this went on well into COVID. That's where I died. COVID, the movements and such.
Yeah.
We also didn't. I was also having children at the time, so it was a lot.
You've not revived it back?
No, but I still have the skill. I still have some of the equipment, and I believe one day I have a bigger vision for the mushrooms now than what we were doing before.
You can do it again.
Something that's more sustainable. We shall do it again. So the farm in Anaka, I worked with a group of friends. Our team leader, we had a team leader called Gordon Gomisiriza. He's an entrepreneur, very good businessman and good friend of mine. We had about 100 acres in Anaka. We had access to about 400, but only used 100. By the time I came on board, they had done chia and other things. So we were mainly now looking at the kind of food that we could sell to, say, the Ministry of Defense, like UPDA for police, and that's either posho, which is the maize, or rice,
beans.
and beans.
Yeah.
So what would happen is we would work like as a team, and we would know that if it's going to, what will it take to till 100 acres? Is it going to take 20 million shillings or so much? And so you know how much. Then we break it down per acre. If we're going to do beans this season, this is how much it's going to cost for us to do the work per acre. Including, we also had a farm manager who was on the ground. Very good farm manager. So we then would split, knowing, so you look at your own finances. Like me, what can I afford? Can I afford 5 acres or 20 acres? And then that's how we'd make the contribution. So that, in a way, would help us to sort of cushion ourselves from agricultural losses, because if we had split the land into physical portions and say, you're going east, I'm going west, south, north. What if north does not yield? Either because of maybe the soil in that part or something happens there. So to cushion ourselves, we would work collectively, you contribute, and you work on the entire piece as one unit. And then also you contribute equally depending on on the portion, in ratios. And then we would also get our returns in ratios. Like if you have sold and you contributed to 20% of the work, you also get 20% of what has come out of that. And we had ready markets. We had, again, like many businesses, we had challenges. And
I know.
so we had to stop for a while, but it is not a lost dream. It is something that we intend to carry on. It was good business. We had the market, food, everyone is eating.
Food, yeah.
You just have to be a bit creative on how you approach and maybe your business model. So
your leadership
leadership.
At Swazi, Ihura, and
Ihura is the newest. I have many. So Swazi Highlands
was the first one.
Swazi, yes.
Yes.
Swazi, I think was registered in 2011, 10, and I am very grateful that it is something that I've been a part of from inception. Like I told you, I like starting things and seeing them grow and the challenges and such. So Swazi, we started production and export at the end of 2016, which is 2017, is when we started export. So at the time, as we were still, before we would open, I started a mentorship program with our MD, and I had to literally take notes. It's like I was in tea school from the nursery gardens, from the nurseries of the tea, you know, and then to when they're transplanting to the mother garden. So I had to meet different people within Bushenyi who are in these different parts of the value chain. And then now we were moving from being farmers to being processors. So even at process level, I had to, the processing level, there were so many parts of the processing that I also needed to learn. So I needed to learn on how we can efficiently manage our costs, if it is either from the firewood section, if it is the electricity, if it is the green leaf. I needed to also learn more about the grading of the green leaf to make sure that we have the right kind, we are processing the right kind. I needed to learn so much. So at the time, I spent so much more time there. So all these other things that I was doing this side had to suffer. Like one thing has to suffer.
Yeah, true.
So now I'm not in Anaka. I was not in the mushroom farm. All I had was Avacop and Swazi. It was a very good experience. I don't think there's anything that beats working in an environment where you're exposed to so much. Because I used to work closely with the farmers, those who would deliver the leaf. I would interact with them. I would actually enjoy the conversations with them. I liked understanding the way they lived, how they perceived the business, and why they did that business, why they went into the tea business. Because now I was in the value addition side of the business, but there were some things that I didn't get to really, really be a part of. But in that time at the factory, I did. So slowly through the experience and the mentorship of our MD, Mr. Africano Bakihahwenchi, I can't say I rose through the ranks, but I learned as I went on. And I also started to get more involved in all the associations that we were part of. And the main association that, if not the only one, that Swazi is really a part of is the Uganda Tea Association. So Uganda Tea Association is the umbrella body for processors right now. We have about 22 member companies with 38 factories processing tea, with over 70 lines of processing. So it's a very big industry. And we have people who have been in the industry for so long. There are some companies that have been in existence for so many years, like the ones that bought the first factories or started the first business. So to think that I have the opportunity not only to learn from my folks and from home, but also from others who have been there longer than my own people. For me, it's a privilege. There's nowhere I was going to turn down the opportunity, because you can't get that anywhere else. You're going to get a job in the bank. You'll never have a one-on-one with the person who started it. I do.
So how do you get this opportunity to be the chair?
There are certain things that I have come to realize that we do, but other people are watching. It is easy to think that you can, especially if you try to put yourself if you put yourself out there, if you expose yourself to more opportunity, there's someone who's watching. So for me, that's what happened. It's not something I applied for. This is a voluntary position. You are nominated, and then you're then elected by your own board. So in the last AGM, we have we choose board of directors with consideration of the different categories of the factories, because we have those that are very big, like Mukwano, like the Madbanis, like Tamteko and such. So those have more, not rights, but they have more positions on the board. Then we have the factories that are farmer owned, like Igara, like Mpanga and Mabale. Those are owned by farmers. Those were the first among the first factories set up by the government. And then there is the individual investors. That's where Swazi lies, and so many others, like Global Village of Hassan, Sajabalaba, and so many others owned by so many people. So I fall in the category of individual investors, and because I have demonstrated the interest to learn, I have demonstrated my passion for tea, and I think those are some of, and I honestly put myself out there. Not that I have so much knowledge compared to them, but I'm willing to learn on the job. I am willing to be taught from different challenges. We as an industry have struggled for about, say, 3 years, but it's been more evident and more out there in the last year, like since 2023. And that was a time that was a time where I felt like some of the people in the industry sort of drew back. They lost interest, they lost hope, they lost the zeal for the business. Me, I've been seeing this since childhood. And
what are these issues? Because even in the beginning you mentioned from the tea industry, not good. What are some of these issues you think?
So in a nutshell, globally there has been an oversupply of tea. So 2023 pushed over 300 million kilograms of tea into 2024. So we have had to deal with, on top of the oversurplus, our markets, the markets have been shrinking, not because they lack interest, but they've also been dealing with so many challenges. We have some of the some dealing with economic crises. We have others with political issues. Then also the countries that we source from our inputs, or some of the parts that go into our inputs, like fertilizer, like Ukraine-Russia war, caused issues. So the prices of the inputs have gone up, but the market is shrinking. So the whole of East Africa has to now feed a smaller market. So we are competing. So the demand for our tea has gone down, and yet we have supply on top of the surplus from the previous year. So in short, that's what really happened, and that's what we've been trying to deal with. And I saw it as an opportunity personally, because I know for a fact that where there are problems, that's where there are opportunities. Because everyone is looking for a solution. Who is going to help? Who is going to speak? Who is going to do this? So I became I was available. I made myself available for the work. I didn't hide from it. Being on TV or on front of cameras is not something I've done before. It's only been here, but okay, maybe the beginning of, maybe towards the end of last year, beginning of this year. It's a first experience, so it's not about being seen. Being on a board is voluntary. I don't get paid for it. It is an act of service. It's basically like my CSR. From all that I have gained from the tea industry, I am putting myself out there to serve. Yes. So I don't know if I've answered your question. Have I?
Yeah.
Yes,
and how is the experience ever since you got this role? Because you came in when the industry is not doing well. Yes, there is a lot to handle.
If anything, I personally imagine that perhaps they chose me because no one was willing. But I would like to think that it is the right time. It was the right time for me, because it is giving me a lot of exposure. I have access to those who know more about so much. So things that I could not learn, I am sure I could not learn either from my own home, my own house, or from just Swazi alone, or from any other job. But I have people with different experience, very old men and women who have been in the industry for like 50 years. So being able to sit down with them and to try to understand the problem that we have, and to see how can we tailor-make solutions that are going to get us out of the crisis or help the business. So the experience has been, at first it was shocking because I didn't expect it, But like I said, people are watching. Whatever you do, people are watching. So
And in
they're
the
watching
beginning,
us right
you
now.
mentioned
Yeah, you
you
could be
don't
on
know if you're
CNN
a people
very soon.
person. I
Yes,
think you are, because if people were watching and trusted you to this
people are
role,
watching.
yeah.
So, but again, it is, I have put myself again in that position of being a child. Of now, I have
Yeah.
a
I
responsibility.
have to do this.
They are watching me. Like my mom was watching me back then. She's watching. So that's how I got to be the chairman of the board. I was elected onto the board, and then it is the board that chose me. I was nominated by one, and the rest unopposed. They said, no,
Wow.
we need something new. And I think it's also a time, because tea is a very old business, so it has had a lot of old people. So it is, I believe it is time now for the youth
Yeah.
to take more
Yes.
bold positions and bold steps into the future, where we are able to express our creativity in many ways, but most importantly, where we are able to learn from the cream of these old people before they go. I mean, assuming they go before us.
Yeah, true.
So before they have to leave us, what are we going to learn? They're not going to all write books, but this is a time where we get to really, really be with them. Learn as much as you can. So when they are gone, there is succession. Yes. So you asked me about Ihura, where I'm the MD. Ihura is a private company, limited by shares. I run it with my sister. She's a doctor, so she's not really businessy. She's more of the she's the one who thinks. I am the creative who gets excited with ideas, and then she's the realistic one who says, Vicky, this does not work. You're going to waste our money. You're not going to, it's not going to work. So we are focusing more on innovation. And being that we have been raised in tea, we started with tea. So we are developing different products in tea. We are looking at things that are outside the usual scope of tea. We're looking at instant teas. We're looking at so many other products, which we believe shall be on the market very soon. And we are also storytellers. We tell stories, yes. And being that tea is the first business we're working with, Ihura is food and beverage. So our flagship product or flagship brand is called Ijani. Ijani is the brand name for all the tea products that we shall ever make shall be called that. But we also have other products that are in development whose brands we shall also unveil eventually. But we wanted to first get this right, because that's what we know and that's what we have. So even the storytelling, we're telling stories about tea.
Okay.
We're trying to brand our country's tea. We want the tea to stop being looked more of a commodity, but to attach a certain value, a value of the people who are actually doing the work on the gardens, the value of the nature, the value of the nutritional benefits. But more than just a commodity, tea is a valuable. Just like they say, water is life. Water is the most consumed beverage. And what comes second? Tea, globally.
Wow.
Yeah, so if tea is being taken close to as much as they are taking water, because tea is mostly water, then there must be something that we can attach to make it more valuable, to make it more seen, especially Ugandan tea.
Ugandan tea.
Because we haven't had an opportunity on the world map for Ugandan tea to be really branded. We're seeing the likes of coffee and others, and we understand that they are taking us to speed, but we are up for the challenge, and Ihura is committed to demonstrating that indeed Ugandan tea can be the best tea in the world.
In the world.
Yes.
Wow. And we are watching.
And you're watching, and you shall see.
Yes. So, Victoria, you've been into these leadership positions. You've handled different businesses. What do you think makes you good at what you do?
Upbringing. number one.
Okay.
I didn't like it. Me, I can tell you for free, I didn't like it. But it was who I was from when I was a child.
Yes.
And you can't be good at it, but you get better.
Yeah, true.
As you go along. I can't say I'm good. I have so many challenges. I could even be in my own home or in my own business.
Yeah.
But I have learned that as a leader, especially in an entrepreneur, it is a lot more than just coming up with different ideas or being the one who has the name MD on your business card. It is being able to create the same spirit in the people that you work with. If I can transfer what it is that is within me, the vision that I bear for the business or the industry into the other people that I'm working with, then I am leading. I am motivating. I am transforming people's lives. It is looking at beyond yourself. It is being able to sacrifice what you have for others, because that is leadership. It is sacrifice from day one. There's no, yes, you may have titles, you'll be the one giving the speeches, but imagine me, you'll be the one to give a speech for graduations, you give a speech for weddings, but you must also give a speech for burials. You understand? You're also accountable for the mistakes that others are making, because when they see the business, they see you. When they see the family, they see you. They say, but where is Vicky? Victoria's not doing her job. What is she doing? If something happens, you're the one. So it is you falling on the sword for everyone all the time. And growing up not wanting it, but eventually accepting that this is the role that God has given me. For me,
you have to take
that
it
made
on.
me embrace it more, and I think that is when you start to get better at it, because you become more conscious of the decisions you make. You're more conscious, you're more awake when you're speaking about certain things, especially in a platform like this where everyone is going to watch what you're saying. And it would be nice if you're an actually authentic leader and you're not just masquerading as one, but one who's actually doing the work. And it makes more sense if the people you claim to be leading can, in the corner somewhere in your absence, say that you need this, you're the first person they think of, because you have solutions. You know, when they have forgotten what they're supposed to be doing, you can put them back in their place and help them understand that it is bigger than you. When you leave, someone else must. So being able to also to create an environment, an ecosystem that is constantly regenerating itself, even in your absence. I think that's what makes good leadership. Yes, I have not done all that yet, but in my assessment, if I'm able to achieve that even in my absence, that everything continues to regenerate, to grow even beyond those who are the closest to me.
Which I think is the biggest challenge with, most of us.
Yeah, because you want to do the work alone. You don't want to teach. Leadership is teaching. Learn from your mistakes and then transfer the knowledge. So that's why I'm saying, me being young and being given a position like this demonstrates the leadership skills of my elders in the industry. To think that Victoria, of all people, how many people are qualified, that she would do the job, they're thinking of the next. And my inability, God forbid, my inability to see it or perceive it shall be a great shame. That if I also can't now pass it on to the next, especially now that I also have children. They had children who are me. Now I also have to make sure that what they left, I can even improve, make bigger for all the other children that are coming after us, because they are coming very soon.
Quite important to note.
Yes.
So as we come to, we wrap up this conversation, how do you balance, your lifestyle, your work, and then family?
Like we mentioned, offset. I don't. Systems are good. Systems are good. I believe even just on a household level, these are things I can't say I've been doing all my life. I had to learn the
Yes.
hard way, and thankfully I've had a very patient husband who is understanding, who understands that I'm growing. I was not made the perfect wife from day one.
Yes.
And even may I understand that he was not born the perfect husband. If you keep chipping off, removing all the scales off you, and they keep falling off until you become a wholesome being that people are looking at and admiring, not knowing all the things that you had to trim off.
Yeah.
So balancing, what helps is systems.
Systems.
If you can set up systems in your home, it will help you to manage home even away from home. Because even when I'm away from home, I'm the one who has to decide what they eat. Yes, they call me, kati mama lero tugenda kulya ki, in a different country. They are here. They're the ones going to eat, they're going to cook, but they are going to ask you, lero tulidde ki. So for me, what helps is a timetable. If you have, it can be boring, but it works. Yes, at home. If I have a timetable that is dynamic, that is interesting, that they can have a bit of everything, especially the challenge is food. There's not much. Preparing meals, having a clean household. If it is constantly clean, then you don't have to do so much work all the time. Then the children, thankfully, they're in school, so they spend most of their days at school, and they come back only in the evening. So even when I'm away, it's not so hectic for the maids. And like I said, my husband is very supportive, because I know when we are growing up, either you're a wife or you have a job. Like, it was two different things. You couldn't be both. So, and also the workspace is being more accommodative of women, especially mothers, whether young or old. They understand that there are things that you need to do. We have much more extra work than men, honestly. Although we try to find a way to balance. So balancing systems helps at home and at work. That if today my child is sick, and I am the business, I am the secretary, I am the treasurer, I am the chairman, I am the office attendant, I am the shop. You don't even have a shop, you don't even have an office. Of course you suffer. Customers want deliveries, they want this, and you can't deliver, so you lose on one. So if you have systems even at work, where you can run them away from work, it helps. But balancing, it takes time. It takes time to even master your own systems. Yes, but starting, you just start, and it unfolds, and it gets better, it gets easier, it gets more interesting. Yes. Most importantly, if you have a supportive partner. If you're not married, that is also fine. Systems, it works. It works.
Wow. And what future do you see for Uganda tea, Ugandan tea, as the chairperson, board of directors?
Oh my God. First of all, I'm very excited. And I pray that that the industry perceives my excitement with grace. We have so much potential. Like, the world has not seen yet what is coming for them. That is all I can say. There's so much potential to even grow the industry. We cover approximately 50,000 hectares of land planted with tea, but there's a potential for up to 200,000. So even if we had to plant more, there is that. But even with the tea itself that we have, because of the challenges that we've had to go back down to the drawing board and say, how do we improve our produce? How do we improve the business? And with quality improvements, our yields are going to get better. Our tea is going to get better. There's so much innovation within tea that hasn't been transferred to Uganda, but I believe that this is the time where we showcase our exceptional tea and exceptional qualities to the world, that Ugandan tea exists, And Ugandan tea is in all the blends that you're
Yeah.
drinking. You're
Yeah.
drinking Kericho, you're drinking Ketepa, you're drinking some Ugandan
Yeah,
tea.
Ugandan
It
tea.
has the brand Kenya.
Yeah.
You don't know what is in Lipton, do you? All those are tea blends. So our Ugandan tea exists, and it is a very big part of my mission to make sure that we are seen, we are appreciated, and that indeed we improve the quality of our business.
Wow. Yes, so Victoria, finally, to the young people, of course, you're going to encourage our young people. You've been in too many things, you've done businesses, and many young people, want to venture into these businesses. The ladies, which kind of advice would you give to such people? Of course, with your experience. Yeah.
There are so many distractions in our lives, too many, from wrong friendships to social media,
Yes.
the wrong social media,
Yeah.
to the need to be rich at the beginning, and it doesn't work like that unless you're going to steal. I would have been also very rich because I started long ago, but I would have been so rich right now. My advice is, first, number one, learn the first time. When they're teaching something, be intentional about learning it. There is no time to waste. There's absolutely no time to waste. You'll be well in your 30s, like some of us, and then you think about all the missed opportunities that you had in your 20s, when you had more energy, before you had children, before, even if you already have, but like before the responsibilities only keep piling on. They don't reduce. It just keeps. But if you're managing the issues then properly, you're learning, this is some skill that you're going to use in the future. You don't have to learn it again. Now you're wasting more time in the future. Secondly, respect. You have to respect your elders. I would not be where I am if I did not respect my mom or my father. If I was not respectful to my elders in the tea industry and so many other places. People are difficult naturally, and it is easy to think that you have a voice. I know there's a lot of things of I have a voice, which is good, because in case you're being oppressed, especially you're being abused either sexually or physically, please, that you need to speak out, because your life is on the line. But as far as learning, we learn even from the rudest people, especially if they are in a higher position. You don't want to frustrate your opportunities when you're still young. Be very respectful and truly learn. The Bible keeps saying, my son, wear this around your neck, your mother's advice. Don't forget your father's advice. They help you a long way into the world, because they have lived the life that you want to start living. We have technology now, which they didn't have. So it is easy to think that they don't know. But the truth is, we're still human beings. And they have lived with the human beings who made all those things. So they know how to manage. So when they advise you, please, you listen. When it's still early. Thirdly, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to travel. Get into that bus. If you have money, get into the plane and go. In Uganda, there's a saying, okutambula kulaba. Go anywhere, even if it is Masaka, even if it is just travel and see the world. Talk to different people. Understand the way they think. They have a different way of understanding. You have exposure. Perhaps you've gone to school or not. But in whatever capacity you are in, whatever environment you have been born in, whatever opportunities or missed opportunities or challenges or misfortunes, it does not matter. Life is the same for all of us. It can balance itself out eventually. So just learn. You travel and learn. Yes. Then also use the different advantages we have now. AI is very popular now. It is the future of business. It's the future of readings, a future of thinking. You can get any information you need right now, which our people didn't have.
Yes.
They either had to read or travel to go and see it. Now you can get it
wherever you are.
Wherever you are. So please, you need to use it. We need to capitalize on any opportunity that is before you. Do not underestimate any kind of business. This safe border business.
Yes, yeah.
He was a border guy. But innovation, thinking that I can take people on trips around Kampala, Bazungu on trips around Kampala for as part of tourism. It started, and the dream gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If for you it is making certain snacks, you can be as big as Sam's.
Yes, yeah.
You know, you don't have to think that you have to, in a year, you're going to leap so
big,
far.
Yes.
And then there's the constant competition, especially in women. It does not work like that. I'm not a man, so I don't know what happens in the world. But in my own life, I've seen a lot of competition, even among friends, over the simplest things like a hairstyle or even body size, imagine. Those are the distractions. You ignore all that rubbish. Focus. Trust me. Eventually, everything gets better. Nothing lasts forever. Be it joy, be it sadness, be it life. Yeah. And above all, God. If we had an opportunity, I'll tell you about my journey with God.
With God.
Yes.
Wow.
But that is
a story for some other time.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Victoria. And I must mention, Victoria celebrated her birthday yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yes, on 20th December. We wish you.
I'm still celebrating.
You're still
I'm
celebrating.
Still getting gifts.
Yes. Please
hesitate.
Yeah. We wish you all the best. And finally,
so
your last remarks to your people. Yes.
My people who? I have many people. The tea industry.
The tea industry, your family, your mom, your siblings.
I don't know how much time I have. I'm sure it's just first to my family.
Yes.
To my parents, I am extremely grateful and humbled that I have had the opportunity to be raised by you. And for a very long time, I know I was a very difficult child. But even in all that difficulty, I was learning.
Yes.
I was learning, and I have taken to heart all the lessons. And to my siblings, I have so far had a good time being your leader. I thank you that you consider me, they call me, I'm like a second mom. They call me a deputy mom.
Yes.
So whenever there's something, have you asked Vicky, have you called her? So to think that I have my own small tribe somewhere that thinks that I'm a leader even before I go out into this world. It is a privilege to be your older sister. And you have achieved so much so far that I'm very proud of. And I believe if we continue to work together as we already do, as the Ngonzi Foundation, we are going to go to greater heights. This world shall hear of you and shall hear of us.
Wow.
To my husband, Mr. David Muchiri, I am very happy that somehow destiny got us in the same place. At the same time, it was a business transaction, but this is how far we've gone. And like that business transaction, I'm sure we shall also build some great legacies together. We shall become more prosperous than we are even right now. And I believe we shall be able to raise a very powerful family and with a very good name. To my beautiful children who are probably not going to understand all this, they'll just say, hey, see mommy on TV. To my very beautiful children, I have never loved anything more than I have loved my children. And I pray that you may also have the same opportunity to love your own at some point. But more than anything, I pray that you may grow up happy children, that you may be less difficult than I was to my parents, but you may also remain a team like I have been with my siblings, because we have remained one. And to the tea industry, my beloved tea family, I am more than humbled that I have the opportunity to lead you. I am more than proud of the work you have done over the ages. I could possibly never imagine myself in a better place than I am right now. I understand that we have had a lot of issues that are yet to be addressed by our elders in government and the board and everyone else that is concerned. But within us, there are those small changes that we can make. There are those small interventions that can help us sustain our businesses as we wait to weather the storm together. I hope that indeed we can remain united. Please do not accept to be swayed by the words of those who are seeking popularity and seeking perhaps attention from people who are probably also going to use them eventually anyway. Let us remain one. Let us remain united. Our tea is for generations. Tea once grown, honestly, it takes about less than 100 years, then you're a very careless farmer. 100 years, you can have your tea. In some countries, thousands of years. So our business is not just our own. Our business is for my children. Our business is for your children. It's for their children. And it is for our country. We contribute greatly to the economy of this country. And I believe the government understands and appreciates what we are doing. And we are yet to see a turn of events where they will pay more attention to the needs of our farmers and address the issues that we have for a year been putting forward to them. So to our government, this is a call from the tea industry, from the Uganda Tea Association, which is the umbrella body for all tea processors, for the tea farmers, for the tea traders, and we also represent other associate members and even those who are consuming this very good product of ours world over. It is time for you to show your solidarity with the tea industry. It is time for you to stand up with us and come on the same table with Uganda Tea Association. Let's sit and see how to craft solutions that will drive us to a better future. We are going to be steeping and we shall be sipping into the future.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. I cannot add anything more to that. It has been a very beautiful conversation with Victoria. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you
to our viewers and to the people behind the cameras. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye.